This video is going to come out at the beginning of Holy Week, the week where we celebrate Jesus who comes to rescue us, who sacrifices himself to save us. And while there are some distinctive differences between what we see in a game like Mario Kart and what Jesus did, for some of you who've never really thought about this might be a good place to start. Just because I love Mario Kart or just because I'm good at Mario Kart doesn't mean I'd make a good race car driver, because there are certain things that are built into Mario Kart that make it a whole lot easier to play. And one of the primary ones of these is a character called Lakitu. Now Lakitu is a Koopa, that's the turtles from Mario, but in this case he travels in a cloud, and what he does is, not only does he start the race, if you happen to get turned around and to be driving the wrong way, he's the one who's like, wrong way, wrong way, wrong way. Tells you to turn around and go back in the other direction. And if you happen to drive off a cliff, Lakitu is the one who comes and fishes you out. And while there are some distinctive differences between what we see in a game like Mario Kart and what Jesus did, for some of you who've never really thought about this might be a good place to start. Because the reality is that Jesus comes into our story. Jesus comes into the reality of human existence. And he comes to tell us when we're going the wrong way. He comes to teach us what it is to be human, how it is that we are supposed to live. We read in the Bible that Jesus is like the rest of us in every way except for sin. And so what we have in the Gospels is the image of what it means to be human, what it means to truly be human, to live in right relationship with God and to live in right relationship with one another. And we can imitate Jesus in this. Jesus points us in the right direction. A second parallel you could make here is that Jesus also comes to save us from something we couldn't get ourselves out of. In Mario Kart, if you drive off a cliff, there's no way to get back up again, short of being lifted up by someone else. And what we discover from the very beginning of the Bible, in Genesis chapter 3, is that when sin comes into this world, it separates us from God. And what you'll see again and again and again in the Old Testament is that despite humanity's best efforts, we can't get back into right relationship with God. We remain separate from him. And so Jesus, by his sacrifice, by his death, by the incredible suffering he endures, Jesus rescues us. Jesus saves us. But then you have to look at the fact that there are some distinct differences between a video game and what it is that we celebrate at this time of year. Lakitu is a sprite, it's a character in a video game. Lakitu has been programmed by some game designer you will likely never meet. Jesus comes to show us God's love for us. He does this not because he's been programmed to, not because he's been commanded to, but because he loves you and me. And he comes to show us just how concrete, just how clear the love of God actually is. We read that Jesus comes so that we might become what's called partakers of the divine nature. In other words, something in us is transformed, is changed. And so this is why at the Easter Vigil we will pray, "Oh, happy fault with which won for us so great a Savior." We are lifted beyond just being the sum of our parts. You are more than what you see when you look at yourself in the mirror. You are precious in God's sight. You are his son, you are his daughter, you are beloved by him. And so the net result of what Jesus does for us is far more than just letting you finish the race. You are shown the way, what it means to be human. You are saved from something you could not save yourself from. You are shown God's love. God's love is poured into you, and you are raised up to be something more. As we celebrate the passion, the death, and the resurrection of Jesus, all of these things are at play. And they are meant to lead us to a greater joy than finishing a video game, than winning a race, than really anything we can experience here. We are led to the eternal joy, the ultimate joy of heaven.